Funny thing is,
Yeah.
it's even bread because the state of South Dakota is probably $1,400.
Now, elephants are in the circus.
Oh, is it a concern?
We'll have to see. I've been trying to, no, I had kind of February brainstorm.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We're at 7 o'clock, so we'll get started. Start with roll call.
Okay, Bear Minnie.
Here.
Brenneman.
Burley here.
Keel.
Here.
Monahan.
Here.
Johnson. Nelson.
Here.
And Jones is absent with notice.
All right, do we have any additions or motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 3/19/2019.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And do we have one? Motion to approve the minutes from 3/20, the equalization.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
And no bills submitted for payment. All right, first section up is public comment section. Any public input on non-agenda items. Can't take action on it, but we can sure listen to any of those things. We try to limit discussion to keep the meeting reasonable. But if anybody'd like to come to the podium and talk to the council, now is your chance.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Gail Olson-Duck. I live across the street on Vandemark from the park. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for being proactive with the skateboard ramp. That's been kind of a blessing. And now I want to take another proactive move. I would like to propose that you put lights up under the shelters, like you have on each end, to line up the inside. The trouble seems to come when the kids are doing mischief. They crawl up into the rafters, and when our police or sheriff drives by, they can't see them, and they hide in there. Basically, every night that I come home, I see kids on the picnic tables crawling up in the shelters in broad daylight. And I'd like to see all of the shelters have the lights, and they would probably have to be put in a cage for protection. I would not like to see it boarded up, the rafters boarded up, because number one, you've now just created a slate for kids to spray paint things on, and that's gonna take a lot of upkeep to keep painting the whatever words or phrases they decide to put up on there. And we have 5 shelters. One of the shelters in the park is a double one on Vandemark. Turtle Creek has 1, so I'm thinking it would probably take approximately 8 lights to do that, but it would be a security thing. It could be a deterrent for the kids to be out, because they're out there all hours of the night, some nights in the summertime, and I just think it's a great safety issue. So that's my proposal, and I'll take any feedback. Mark?
Cause we talked about this the other day, I guess, and I don't think I asked you when we were on the phone, but what would keep them from breaking the lights?
Well, nothing would keep them from breaking the lights. That's why I said you probably have to cage them.
Well, you can break a light in a cage.
Like, you can paint a piece of wood too, a spray paint piece of wood.
No, I know.
You know, but I think that having lights there might deter them from even, yeah, I'm sure we're gonna have some broken lights, but I think all in all, in the park, in the summer, after curfew, would eliminate a lot of the problems that go on in that park. And I hear them, I see them, when my dog goes out at 1 or 2 in the morning, he hears them. I don't see them, but I know that there's somebody over there, you know.
Could you put a light behind a piece of plexiglass, Craig?
Yeah, depends on how heavy the plexiglass, they'll still break it, I mean, they can break it. I'm sure they make a light that's pretty much just indestructible, but cost is gonna be high.
I wanna make a motion to,
We
put
can't
this on
take-
the agenda and for next meeting with quotes on options for lighting said shelters. And we'll take it from there.
I'll second for discussion.
Second, discussion?
Can, say the fine sheriff is driving by, cause I've never looked, I've never thought to look, but when you drive by on the street, can you look up into the rafters of the, you can't?
No, you can't. When they're dark, you can't see them. You have to be, and I have gone over there, because if my dog is going crazy at midnight, these kids shouldn't be in the park. And I've gone over, and you have to get under it and actually look to see them. But these kids aren't stupid, mind you. They're dressed in black, so they blend in quite nicely with the evenings. So, you know, if you don't get under there and look, or have a flashlight, you can't see them, because you can't see them from the street.
No, I would suggest that if we do put lights up, to add motion sensing. So during hours of darkness, if somebody's up in there,
Good
the
idea.
lights will be on as a ready-made beacon for us to say someone's in there. Or there's a rabbit on the ground, but either way, it'll keep the kids someplace else.
Yeah.
Make them aware of the scenario.
So we really only need indestructible motion sensing lights.
That is the bottom line. I'll back up Gail too. There's been many occasions where I've had my fire pit, and I can hear them, but I can't see them. And I know they're there. And this is same time, you know, it might be 11, 12 o'clock at night. And as the track record shows, I mean, you know, obviously that we've shut down the bathroom, and that poor bathroom might survive another couple of years, but you know, it does happen, and I hear it, and I will coincide with Gail 100%, that it's there, and it will be there again this summer. And that's why I'm supporting, at least take a look at, you know, doing that type of thing.
I just, you know, we're growing. Just be proactive to what's out there, because we know what can happen and stuff, and I, you know, I can sit in my patio on the back, and I can hear them in daylight, the profanity that comes from it, as people walk by. I witness them throwing snowballs at people as they walk by, you know, and these are adults. This spring, I know she has to be in her 50s. She's walking her dog up, not paying attention to them, and they're shooting snowballs at her. She stops and says something, and I didn't go outside, but you can about imagine what the conversation was like. She turns to walk away, and they start shooting snowballs at her again. And it's kind of like, there's no respect, you know? So anyway, that's my proposal. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah, try to think some good suggestions between now and next meeting.
Vote on that, right?
We need to take a vote.
You need to take a
first
vote on it.
Oh, yes, we
Add
do.
that in the
Motion and
agenda.
second? Yep. Any further discussion? Thank you. All right, the motion was to add this. We can't take action on this, but we can add something to the agenda.
Yeah, to the agenda for next meeting. I also would, if I have to amend my motion, I will, but I like Mark's idea about motion sensors. I will,
Can you reread the motion for us then, Karen?
Yeah, Scott made the motion to put it on the agenda for the next meeting to provide quotes for the lights for the shelters.
which is essentially
I'll
good.
get them, yeah, I
Right.
got notes here, so I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Can we have a comparable quote for just installing plywood?
Certainly can. I mean, that's all numbers I can just put together, so.
Yeah, I mean, I know that wasn't the preference, but it might be cheap enough that you can paint it a lot of times before you start buying lights.
further discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Nelson?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Brennan?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, go right ahead.
Ready?
Yep, make sure we got your name for the minutes.
Red Shannon,
Right, Shannon?
109 North Fighter. I was wondering what it would take to get the property tax valuation lowered on my place.
That'd be the, you're a week shy on that one, because we had equalization,
First
but
thing
if
is,
you wanna continue on that, Shannon, go ahead.
I reasoning the neighbors next door to me across the alley there. All times during 2 o'clock in the morning, out there raising all kinds of hell, getting stuck out there in the mud and the snow and everything. Burning garbage. Friday night about 11:45, we were sitting up watching television, watching a movie, and there was a loud bang, and the bang was so loud that it shook the windows in the house, okay? And the wife looked out and saw a car falling away and said maybe it backfired, so the car didn't backfire anymore, it was in pretty bad shape. So then another one, and finally I walked outside, and I saw this big glow next door across the alley there, and another loud bang, and it sounded something like, it could have been a pistol, or a rifle, or something like that. These people have no respect for the city whatsoever. Garbage all over the place, junk vehicles, never clean their sidewalks, and how they've been here that long doing all this kind of stuff and getting away with it, I have no idea at all. And I realize people probably send letters, talk to them, stuff like that, but it's really ridiculous to let something like that go on. Today, as I drove by there, they were burning garbage in a 55-gallon can out alongside the house. And I know that's against the regulations here in the city also.
I assume you worked with the local sheriff department on some of these issues?
Well, I called 911 the other night when the booms were going off and the fire's going on. I think they sent the fire truck out. There will be more calls into the sheriff's office for, I don't know. You guys gotta do something.
So I think, aren't we in our 24/7 period now?
Yeah,
Okay.
hours of contract, yeah.
Right, so a few months ago, we decided to do 24/7 coverage in the city, and this kind of addresses your issue too, is we're trying to be proactive by adding law enforcement here all the time. And so if either of you, to me, have a concern, 911 and a deputy should be around to come check it out.
Well, 911 was called Friday late, and they sent out a fire truck, I believe.
Well, so then we have an enforcement issue. I mean, from where I'm sitting.
I said,
So,
like somebody said I should, you said, hey, it sounds like somebody shooting a gun out here.
mhm.
And then they would send a couple deputies out right away.
Teresa, I don't know if this is a time or place to discuss this, but there has been proactive, action on said resident. Can you expand on it, or do we gotta keep that at,
I can give you more details than executive, but we have had several complaints on the property, and so yes, you're right, we've sent out our letters, done our process. He's been fined several times, ignores our letters, ignores our fines. It
Do
is
they
going
pay the
through,
fines?
it is going through the courts, but, you know, that all
Do they
takes,
pay the fines?
so. I said, it is going through the court process, you know, we're following our procedure, like I said, I can give you more details than executive, but.
Well,
So yes, you're not the only one that
they're really not.
notices it.
Also put stuff in there, they might have to buy another place or something.
You know,
I
they
would say-
just keep ignoring us.
Don't hold back
It's
either.
not hard to ignore, it's kinda hard to ignore somebody when you got them right next door to you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Fire bolting up over the top of the
No,
buildings
I-
and stuff like that,
I
but
hear
you
you.
can't ignore that.
No, I mean, he keeps ignoring us and all our, you
Well,
know.
yeah, well, there's gotta be something different taken
Red,
other than just sitting back and doing nothing.
I'd say the best thing you can do is don't hold back on, if you need to call the sheriff's department on anything, you get anything that's just a little bit over a noise, call, let them know. Get them over there, make sure that that becomes a repeat property that they're visiting. And the other thing is if you see things like their sidewalks or burning barrel or anything like that, file a complaint with the city, that we've got an anonymous
I
complaint
filed a
system.
complaint probably 2 months ago, and of course, nothing is done, because they're sitting there and they know that they got you by the, well, whatever you wanna call it. And, I don't know, it's just frustrating to have that going on over there all that long time. I parked my trailer, a little trailer on the grass for 1 week while I was doing some repair work to the house and stuff, and then I get a letter in the mail. Of course, people have sent out letters and they just throw them away. The man who owns the place, has anybody ever contacted him? Never talked to him.
Yeah, the renter and the owners get
They
all the letters, yep, and they
still saying nothing?
say nothing.
Who cares? Well, I guess that's all I gotta
It's
say. That's all.
frustrating.
911 every time something's going on, but.
I'd say that's your best thing you could do.
What are the hours for disturbing the peace, say after dark? Is there a time for?
11 o'clock,
It's 11
11
o'clock.
o'clock is the noise ordinance.
And the reality is though, if someone's being disturbed, no matter what time of day it is, because not everybody works the hours that I do, or, you know, what they call banker's hours. So if someone's being disturbed, they can be cited. It doesn't have to be in the ordinance that says after 11 o'clock you can't shoot cannons off. Can't do that during the day also. So I did talk to him today, the renter, and I think that the pressure we're putting on him is starting to work because he's considering moving. So I had him put the lid on top of his burn barrel today. Maybe if we leave it off, the house won't be there long, I don't know. Could it be unethical for me to recommend that, so. But I was there today, we are putting some pretty intense pressure on them, and they are definitely on our radar.
I know you are, because you stop over there once in a while, so.
Oh, I was there today. They're very happy to see me.
Alright,
So
thank you.
what about the, drop in my, property taxes?
Property taxes?
Next year.
Next year, about 51 weeks from now, you should be ready.
You're a week short, Red.
I should get a rebate. Thank you.
Thank you, Red.
Thank you. Alright, we're still under public comment. Any others that would like to come on? Okay. Alright, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is applications, hearings, resolutions, and ordinances. My understanding is the special event permit does not need to be heard. They can do their event in Sioux Falls where they originally planned, so we don't need to move on that one.
Yep.
Move down to the reports. And we got Deputy Ryan here on the Sheriff's Deputy report.
It's been a month already. Alright, so, I did kind of change the format of the report, I don't know if folks read this or not. So, there is, some numbers in parentheses. Basically, if it's a minus, it means the number of calls for that type of call is down. If it's a plus, it's up. And if the word new is in there, it just means I've added it to the list. So in the last 30 days, we've had 0 911 hangups. So I don't know what has happened in the last 30 days, but I'm happy to see that. I've added civil paper service. Civil paper service is somebody's getting sued, someone's getting a divorce, that type of thing. That's something the sheriff's office gets to deal with. 2 stolen cars, 8 warrant services, 85 traffic stops, which is an increase of 47, and may have something to do with that. 4 animal complaints, 4 medical calls, 1 DUI, 2 frauds. We've had one establishment that keeps getting hit with check frauds, and I'm trying to work with them to restrict the amount of checks they take or the way that they take them, to try and cut that down, because it's getting significant. 11 check well-beings, and that is an increase. Fantastic decrease in snowbird citations. No hold-up alarms, thankfully, this time. We've had 3 juvenile delinquencies Ended up in at least one arrest, one suicidal subject, one noise disturbance, one family dispute, 3 accidents, and 1 drug seizure. So the drug seizure was at the American Inn, going by the old adage, see something, say something. One of the employees saw a car out there idling for a long period of time. Someone appeared to be passed out behind the wheel. Deputies responded, investigated, and they were able to seize over 11 pounds of marijuana and some other drugs and paraphernalia from the vehicle. So it was just on the way from here to there. So that's kind of a wake-up call, I hope, for us, that I-90 is a main drug corridor for east-west, and it's going by us all the time. So we're doing our best to curb that. Highway Patrol is definitely on point, catching the drug runners. Total calls for service on the last 30 days, 229, which is an increase of 40, so almost 8 calls per day. Significant calls. We did have an unresponsive male out in the county just north of the city, and I performed CPR with rescue fire, and we were not able to revive him. So kind of things I'm reflecting on the last 30 days is I'm starting to see garage doors open in the middle of the night. We just talked about stolen cars. People are leaving the garage doors open, which is an easy access to get into the home. So I'm asking folks to shut their garage door when they're in for the night. This is no longer rural South Dakota. Take your keys inside. Don't put them underneath the mat. Don't put them underneath the visor, because you're just making it so easy. Crimes of opportunity. And we have 2 stolen cars here in the last 30 days. Anything for me, folks? Nothing, not even one.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I seen you in the coffee cup parking lot in the back, gentleman with a red pickup, and he looked really irritated.
Yes.
When you tried to get him to put his hands on the back of the truck, because I was getting ready to get out and help you.
You driving a semi?
I was.
I was wondering if that.
Yeah, I was getting ready to help
Right
you.
here behind me.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it looked like you had your hands full.
Yes,
I was just curious why that guy was so irritated.
that's the way he is.
A
But-
friend of yours?
Oh, no.
Not anymore.
He had a warrant, did not want to go on his warrant.
He didn't look like you wanted to do much
No,
anything but
no.
leave.
Yes, so he actually lives in the city too, I'm not gonna say where. He is also on my radar, not because of that reaction, but because of what I think he's doing in the city. So yeah, he nearly got a 50,000 volt ride.
I was waiting. Because I mean, the only thing I had was my hammer, but I knew you had the gun and the taser, so I thought, well, maybe you'll be
Pretty
all
well
right.
equipped, right, yeah. No,
You were
it's
thinking
funny-
his cell phone.
It's funny that you were driving the truck, because I remember distinctly hearing it, like, just like crawling by.
That's
As
right.
that was going on.
I was getting ready to help you.
Well, I appreciate that. So that was that, people typically don't like to go to jail. Even though when a judge signs a warrant, they run until they can't run anymore. We have over 15,000 active warrants in Minnehaha County. Thankfully, we don't have 15,000 beds, so if we were able to get them all at once, we couldn't anyway.
I'm glad you had it well under control.
I did, thank you. Anything else?
I wanted to ask, the increase in traffic stops in those, is there anything in particular, any area in particular, anything that you're looking at?
Well, so you have, say, you have really active accountants. Accountants are really good at accounting. They're really good computer programmers. And you have some that are like, they don't take it seriously. You also have some cops that maybe aren't as proactive as others. I'm really proactive, and I'm always on the move. I don't know if they've noticed, but there are times where I don't even come in to City Hall. Not because I don't like them, I love this thing. But I'm trying to be as proactive and as unpredictable as possible, and it's proven to be effective. I'm looking for speeders, I'm looking for stop signs, and I've had a whole lot of stop signs. And I'm looking for warrants, I'm looking for drugs, and I'm looking for drunks. So thankfully, I've only found a lot of stop signs and speeders. I think people are getting the message though, that the city of Hartford's not gonna put up with it. So, and I've had plenty of people who I've issued a citation to, who thank me on the way out. So I'm doing something right. But nothing super dangerous, with the exception of, I was talking to Teresa today about the speed limit on Second Street from 38 past Main Ave. I believe it needs to be 15 miles an hour the whole way. Because I was sitting watching the four corners here at Main and Second, because I know it's a highly run, people go through that stop sign like it's not there. And a car goes right by me, stops at the stop sign kind of, and then goes across and just takes off towards the elementary school. While I watch a line of tiny kids about this tall, arm in arm on the sidewalk, just oblivious to it. So he got a citation, was not thrilled about that. But that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to stop right there. So, and that's why I talked to Teresa and actually to Craig to talk about potentially keeping that speed limit at 15 the entire lane. So,
From Maine to 38.
right now, I think it's at Oak, from Oak, and I'm happy with leaving it from Oak.
Sure.
Gives me time to cycle down all the way to 38.
Okay.
So, I think that's probably new business at another time, but it's.
Yeah, but on that subject, who sets that? Does the city do that? Does the city staff?
It's set in ordinance, but it kind of goes by recommendations from, Craig goes to the street conferences and, it's actually ultimately set by the council, but.
Well, the only reason I ask is like Western, I know was partial county, partial city responsibility. So then I was curious where Colton Road,
That's all county.
so the county sets that,
Yeah.
even
We
inside,
can request, and then they'll throw a request in if we wanna change it.
yeah?
Like on Western from Central, from basically from the, sports complex on back, that's all 55 right to that stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked about that, and they're gonna look into that and see if they need to adjust that back further, slow that traffic down before the stop sign. Along with that, much we'll talk about, I was gonna bring it up in my report, but me and Deputy Ryan were talking the other day about, speed limits on some of these roads, some stop signs that shouldn't be where they're at.
Yeah.
And some other sign issues, so if you guys are okay with that, we're gonna do some investigating through town and bring up proposal to you guys on some speed limit changes, some stop sign removals, maybe some stop signs added, and let you guys, make a decision on them, so. We'd like to do that in the next few weeks or whenever your time, so.
So we've got a project in Harrisburg, and they've got the electronic sign that
Yep.
flashes at you for speeding. Definitely gets my attention.
Yep.
I would rather get that than Deputy Ryan.
Every time.
And we've got some numbers on that, I know we talked about that, we're doing them on Mickelson when Mickelson's done, so we've got some numbers from Sioux Falls bids and stuff, so.
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Ryan.
You're making me a better driver.
Yeah, that's true.
Conscious of it now.
All right, Nate, you got the recreational director report?
Yeah, I don't have a full report for you, but I do have kind of an update that I set on you guys' desk up there. Just to kind of let you know, about the field fees. So just a couple of notes I wanted to add, and then I'll kind of give you, softball kind of points of contention, with the possible fees, and then, we can have kind of more discussion over it, so. So I just wanted to reiterate, I think I did some investigating, I think the fees are fair and they're thoughtful and I considered them. One thing to know about like the park shelter and amphitheater reservations is we do have many of those already, so I believe it's best that we grandfather those in that have been made prior to obviously when we update the fees for that. I would say the earliest I would like to see fees go into effect for these would be Monday. That way we have Monday, April 8th, excuse me. So we have time to update the website as far as park shelters and reservation forms there, as well as we can post field fees if that decision does go through. Let's see. So then I kind of have my points there. I'm going to tell you softball's points first, and I'll kind of go back through mine. So also included on the other piece of paper is the ledger from the tournament last year for Jamboree Days. At the bottom, kind of towards the bottom, you can see I think on the back page, you can see the amounts that they had in profit. And that was, the number was 2,338.43 is what they made in profit from the tournament last year. So I just wanted to put that out there. They said they were fine with, you seeing that to consider what we lay for fees. This year, when they talked to Eric, who's the head of their association, he believes that they will make probably around the same amounts is what they're expecting. He said due to the fact that they're going to have less volunteerism this year and more outsourcing. That's what he said. I don't know exactly what that means for them.
So he's saying they're gonna make it less?
I don't think, no, he was saying they expect to make about the same amount. They do have more teams participating this year, which is why you probably expect it to be more, but they're saying they don't expect it to be much more than that, is basically the synopsis there. Money-wise, and then just kind of, they cited that has an economic impact on the community, so kind of why should they be charged type of thing. And they said, some of the members said they believe that the fees weren't feasible kind of until the complex was completed with all the amenities. And then they just kind of cited the facts that they supply a lot of their own equipment as well and have invested in the facilities. But Eric wanted me to emphasize that they are welcome to whatever the council decides. They just wanted to make sure they were heard and their points were known, basically. So if you have any more questions on their stuff, I have counterpoints kind of above it with my opinions there. Like I said to begin with, I believe they're fair. I don't think we're gouging them. When you do the math, if they were to make the same amounts, it'd be about 13.7% of last year's earnings, which I don't think is outrageous for a facility fee, as it's common. I guess I didn't do a whole lot of research in this, but when I've hosted events in the past, facility fees tend to be a larger percentage of your profit than that 13.7%. And then though the fields aren't fully developed, I think, these fees are a step towards, managing them, paying for maintenance, and hopefully investing in the future where the fees from this would go to the general fund, or the general budget fund, general budget, but that's eventually what does go to anything Elwood Sports Complex as it be. So that's kind of where I'm at there. I also wanted to note that this is kind of a tentative, laid out points. We will want to look into, once we figure out what the rates are, maybe a more tournament-specific special event form or permit, as well as in a rental agreement. But you guys kind of get to set, what the fees are, and then we can work out the details with the city attorney. So
hypothetically, the softball association would incur another $640 for to run their tournament by doing that.
That's for the, with maintenance. It sounds like they would like to go with the other option, which would be the $10 an hour, capped at 80. So if you take 80 times 4 for the 2 fields over 2 days, that comes out to 320. So it would be the 640 most likely they would decide to go with for options. But again, you guys have the power to
make a motion to approve the proposed facilities fee schedule as proposed.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion.
I've got a question, Chair.
Yeah.
For Jamboree Days, Would we be required, the committee be required to rent the shelters, the picnic tables in for that, or how is that?
I would say, sorry for my idea would have been that it's the city's facilities. So if it's a city committee, that you guys can choose to, waive the fees, would be what my take on that would
Apply
be.
for special or event, ask
Special
the
events,
fees to be
gender
waived
days,
and
things like
council
that.
can decide at that time.
Same as the advertising fee or whatever we charge that we typically waive,
Right.
they could ask for that.
Exactly, yeah.
Cause really with the city event, they can pay us and we pay them. I mean, it's
Right.
Circular,
chasing your tail,
I
right?
think
Just
that's-
ask more for budget next year then.
Right, right.
I think
Right. Kinda like Brookings, the fire department rents the hydrants from the city.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Anyway,
One
same
more
scenario.
recommendation I wanted to get in, kind of at the bottom there in the discussion. I did hear of softball, I see where they're coming from their perspective. I don't think it's outrageous, but I think a fair compromise for this first year where they can't really, pass the fees on or incur them to anybody else. I kind of wanted to propose that we give them a one-time 25% discount, so they'd be looking at paying $240 instead of the $320. I thought that was just a fair way to say, hey, we heard you, but we want to get these fees through, and next year when you run this tournament, you'll be able to pass the fees on to possibly the participants with the entry fee, or better account for it, since they didn't have time to necessarily this year. They knew something was coming, but I got them the fees scheduled in March, and they do a lot of planning with their tournament. So I just wanted to make sure that was noted, as well as there's a couple of other questions listed there, kind of about, does the percentage of earnings and field fees kind of matter to the council, how that goes hand in hand? Is there a certain percentage you want to see from each event, or is it more of a flat fee, which I would encourage? That way it doesn't stifle growth of an event like this. So if anybody wants to kind of, take on that question or have an opinion about that, I'd be interested to hear, as well as kind of the other two that are under there.
I saw all those questions and I wanna try and wrap all that up in my motion. So, I will summarize my opinion on your questions, and that would be when, the softball association comes to rent those, if they request their 25% deduction at that time, we could address it.
Okay.
And the other questions are points of discussion, I guess, so.
Mhm.
What's the structure for them requesting the fields for a tournament right now? Is there a structure for that?
The structure I've created right now is, all we have right now is a Google form. That's a special event form for the fields, which they can make their submissions through, includes, contact information. It asks for an insurance policy that's attachable. You can attach file on it. And, kind of just the preliminary stuff as opposed to the actual agreement. And it basically says, that fees are pending at this point, is what it says on the sheet. Basically, it's only been, Eric Kunzweiler and Hartford area softball, that have done that, and they emailed me most of the information prior to the form going out, in the last 2 weeks here.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of background in it necessarily, which is why I would recommend that we create a special event permit, if that makes sense,
Right.
tournament specific, which I can work on. Teresa did send me the current permit we have, that I would be happy to, tweak and bring back, whenever it may be necessary.
No, I'd be interested in that, and just having consideration of who approves it and those kind of things. I mean, maybe in some of those cases, if it's standard fee, standard everything, that it gets approved, city staff approves it and it's done. But if it's requesting a discount or requesting something outside of certain parameters, that maybe those things come to the council, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think I wanna get into the
minutia of all of it.
the business of saying how much an organization can make on the ball tournament.
Yeah.
I feel like if we as a council set our rates, we have to be comfortable with that, and if all of a sudden the council thinks organizations are making too much money, well, then I guess that means we need to raise our rates.
Yeah.
Just my thoughts, but at least this way, if we have established rates, we cover our expenses, our input costs, and then we don't sit here and argue if we should take 10% or 15% or 20% of what they took, and then we get a bunch of spreadsheets and weird numbers, and I think I'd just rather have a flat rate.
As a point of clarification for my motion, those funds would go into our general fund. I may make a second motion after we vote on this, to split that out and see how the council feels about that, but.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is prior to you, Nate. After last year's tournament, there was talk about how many thousands of dollars that tournament brings in.
10,000 we heard.
I vaguely recall $10,000 per tournament. And now it looks a lot like $2,300. And the only reason I bring it up is because, to tell the truth, I feel like I've been a little bit misled. So, because prior to you, Nate, we can do all this grand stuff because there's thousands of dollars to be made. And now it obviously looks like there's not. So.
Well,
I'm
I get what you're saying there, and I think that, things probably get inflated. Sometimes people only report the credit side and not the
what is that, like
expense side.
500%?
Right. But I don't know that we as a city should care too much about how much that tournament makes versus that tournament versus how popular that one is. And I think we should more care about, are we getting a fair rate for using our fields and whatever the use is of some of that for a given weekend? Whether tournaments run perfectly and they have high entry fees, or not run perfectly. I think we should just have a flat fee coming.
And I wouldn't argue that point. I don't care how much somebody makes on a tournament, more power to them. But herein lies the problem with me anyway. Because it was just stated tonight that, well, if you had sidewalks, if you had concessions, if you had bathrooms, if you had X, Y, and Z, we could see you charging us more. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, we could do all that, we could outlay all that money, and somebody would squawk if we charge more. I just seriously get the impression that, hey, if you do this, here's the return. So then you do that, and the return's not there. And then literally just tonight, well, if you did this, then we can do that. And I'm afraid that if we do that,
I'm not,
that's just the feeling I get, because $2,300 is a far cry from 10. It was sold last year, like these tournaments are so flush with cash, everybody stick their hand in the bucket. And I'm wondering whether the $10 for maintenance will even cover the city's outlay for the real maintenance, because I don't think it will. Craig, am I wrong?
No, it's not gonna break even as far as that, but like we were talking before, it's
I know, you're
Quality
selling
of life.
pizzas and you're selling, I got it.
quality of life, it's like cool.
I've heard it.
We
Mark,
waste-
you're asking like that, it says it costs $700 to dig a hole that got filled in. So, I mean, let's put it all in context.
I know, that's my only comment.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Does anybody need to hear the motion? Okay, any more discussion? Now we'll vote. Monahan,
Yeah.
Brenneman,
Yep.
Keel,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
and Nelson.
Yes.
All right. Do we have any other motions?
I make a motion that any funds, earned from the Swenson Sports Complex be earmarked for the Hartford, for the sports complex.
motion and a second. Kim Grumman, discussion?
Just for clarification, so they would go into the sports complex fund then?
Correct,
Is that
yep.
what you're trying to do?
Any revenue
And
generated
just from
the,
what comes in from there?
Correct.
Okay.
yep.
Discussion? None? Nelson?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Brenneman?
Yeah.
And Monahan?
No.
Alright, anything else under your report, Nate?
Just wondering about the private, if we have a private rental, we were approached recently, from Dakota Wesleyan University, and they decided, not to go with us. We did put together a brief agreement, kind of recommended from, our insurers, as well as, what we had thought would be fair for rates. Do you want, a different fee schedule or private rates, for rental, to be put together, or do you want us just to handle that in-house at the city and set our own rates? Kind of what are you looking for there? And then I'll, kind of let it go for the night.
What do you mean by private?
That's a good question. Sorry, I should clarify, an outside of Hartford rental. Somebody who's not a resident and who doesn't, live here.
For example, Dakota Wesleyan probably need to play a softball game here against Dort.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
For that kind of situation,
Yeah.
or where, there's flooding on fields in Sioux Falls this week, or this year, so, if that were to come up, what's the situation there? Versus, is it the same rate as the Hartford residents, renting it, or is it different, or is it case by case basis, just kind of what does that look like?
To me, I wonder a little bit, we just passed the fee schedule
Mm-hmm.
that didn't have any specifics on it,
Yeah.
that I know of. I'd lean towards saying, hey, that's our fee schedule.
Okay,
Otherwise, I feel like we could be splitting hairs
okay,
to some degree if I'm a coach of a team that's a Hartford team, but I live in Humboldt,
mm-hmm.
then.
That's
what-
kind of where I was coming from
Keel
too. I was
request
just
it for me,
wondering.
cause he lives here, and
Mhm.
I don't know.
I was just
feel like
wondering
we
if
want-
you guys were seeking anything else from me on that, is basically kind of where I was coming from. I'm pretty much fine with it as is, but I think, we could stand to possibly make more money, from having a different, agreement for, a college level program coming in that would be willing to pay more.
Sure.
So
Have you
just
done
saying that as an
research on it?
opportunity. What was that?
Have you done the research on it? What more could we get? Compared to other places?
It's an interesting question because, from private places like from Augustana, and they charge outrageous rates to play on their turf baseball field. It's like $300 for a few hours, to get one game in. Versus, the city of Sioux Falls, charges, basically nothing as long as, the fields are open and available and not already prior reserved. So it's kind of that catch-22, where do we think we land in that? Public versus private. With being a public entity, I think it makes the most sense to have one unified fee schedule, kind of like Jeremy said. But I do think there would be money that we'd stand to earn if we were to come up with a more, a more specific agreement for, an outside entity.
I would say if someone approached you and wanted to sign a contract of sorts to secure those fields for a long-term duration, that at that point you visit with Teresa, and perhaps then the council should look at it as, all right, what are we missing?
Mm-hmm.
Are we being taken advantage of? What are the pros, what are the cons? And initially, my gut is just stick with this flat fee schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless it becomes a problem.
Yeah, I agree. You can always have more discussion in the future, so, thank you guys.
Oh, I do have one question. How are things going with the website?
The website's a work in progress. Right now, I gotta be honest, I've been kind of swamped with, scheduling and, receiving, contacts, frequently from, people being, when can we get on our fields, parks open, those types of things. It's not on the back burner necessarily, but, what I'm working on there is, like I said, I decided to go with Sports Engine. It's a matter of, when to build it out, when we have our own programs, because it does have those tools like registration, etc. We can do it all there. Right now, I think it'd be best as far as a timetable to build it out once we can agree on some programs that we want to offer other than Kids Rec Camp. That way it's not just a site that links out to other sites. We have some of our own content on there. So in my opinion, it'd be best, like I said, like I've said before, I'm gathering, all the information I can, talking to all the people I can, which I have put together that city page that has recreational sports offerings that I'm gonna get more updates for next week even, from people I've talked to. So we do, you can get to what we have offered, and we just put out the Kids Rec Camp stuff today, started a Facebook page for that. So we're not necessarily missing out on an online presence, but creating our own website, I think you need to have the content there. And, I need to be able to have pictures that I've taken from the summer that we can, so it's not just a bare bones website, if that makes sense. So timetable wise, I think the best time to launch it would probably be in the early fall, when we can try to, look forward to next year and say, hey, as a city, what programs can we offer in addition to what we already have, as opposed to making it either one program of ours website and just linking out to everybody else, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Yeah.
Like September?
Yeah, that felt well.
But smart on your part too,
Yeah.
because we gotta keep you around.
Yeah.
Alright, any other questions? Alright, thank you. Thank you. Engineer report, Mitch?
Yeah, I didn't have much that I wanted to point out, except Nicholson Road, they're gonna be getting started on work on out there again. We had a meeting with them earlier this week, so it's still pretty wet and sloppy for them to be able to do a lot of work, but they're trying to start progressing on that box culvert again. Now that the water's receded, we inspected it, we didn't find that there was a lot of damage or anything like that, so everything that they had in place remained in place, and we just had some gravel that washed out a little bit here and there, and dirt that they gotta fill back in, but once it dries out a little bit more, they'll be getting more production out there. We have Vandermark Avenue bids on the agenda, so I wanted to go to that. We had 5 bids on there, so we had really good turnout for that project, and Soak Up Construction ended up being the low bid at $1.2 million, and under our estimate, so we just felt like we had a really good day that day with bids. So I guess I would recommend that we award the contract to them and get them going out there.
I agree. Do we have any motions on the contract? On the bids, I should say.
I'll make a motion to approve the award to Suga Construction.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Discussion?
Where are we getting money?
It's Teresa Powers over there.
Teresa.
Dude, let's not pick on Teresa, stay like Karen.
Karen.
Karen, where are we getting the money?
So rural development, we're working with rural development to put in an application with them. They're really the only ones you can go through for just a street project. There's other avenues if you have utilities, but this is a street that's just residential, and that's so rural development's probably about our only choice, so. And I think Mitch has been contacted by CECOG about getting that information together, and so we're going down that road.
Sounds good. Alright, we got a motion and a second. More discussion? We'll vote. Monahan?
Yeah.
Brenneman?
Yep.
Keel?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
And Nelson.
Yes.
Alright, anything else for Mitch?
I didn't, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Thank you.
Other than, could we put some numbers together on 9th Street West? Now that you got.
Yeah, we sure can. I know we had reached out to Mr. Helgo about his interest in participating there.
Yeah, and as I told you at the last meeting, he doesn't wanna commit to doing anything on 9th Street until he figures out what he wants to do with his land.
Oh,
So,
I apologize, I was
Yeah, you were
Paul,
telling,
the
yeah.
tool store thing, said that Ninth Street should be done too.
You did.
Oh, yeah. And if there's a street in town that's worse than Ninth Street, please point it out.
Fourth Not right now.
And Ryan used to win.
How much traffic is on Fourth
None.
Street?
Okay, alright, we'll move on.
So, I mean, assuming we're holding, do we need to do anything on Ninth Street then? Is that, do you want to still put numbers together in that?
That's up to the council if they want numbers to put together on it.
No.
How hard is it?
It's not, I mean, I can put that together.
I mean, like,
It'd be nice then, yeah.
I'll do it.
now that the
Get it
bid's
done
let,
for you.
we know exactly what it was gonna cost. I mean, before we had estimates on Vandemark, we had
Yeah,
estimates on
I can
Ninth Street, so it'd be
update it.
nice to know. If we felt that need to move forward, what would it cost, and then decide, can we afford it or not,
Okay.
you know?
You take them out of the file, it says might do to probably gonna do.
Yeah.
Tweak the numbers,
I
present them.
mean, I think due diligence is all we need to do, right?
Oh, yeah, I can do that, that's not a problem.
So what are you gonna put that on the force count?
No, I can just update them, not a big deal.
Just on your lunch break?
Yep.
Wow, Mitch, if you're a rock star, man, don't you tell Brown.
He's a good guy.
Is it?
He's gonna bring us home.
Cashew, cashew.
Alright, we're gonna move over to the super public works report. Craig.
Just a couple things to highlight. Work on roads, like I said, Ninth Street is a mess up there. I worked on it today for about 2 hours, trying to burn it up a little bit. It's, maybe tomorrow it might turn up a little more, get a little rain with it and stuff like that will help it, so.
Vandemark really surprises me, actually.
Yeah, I didn't even go up that other end of it, cause I figured it was pretty good shape, so. We'll keep working on it. We had 2 or 3 spots in town with good roads that boiled up and basically fell apart on us, so we dug them up, a couple of spots, and there is good base there and everything like that, but just the water's right underneath the asphalt, and that's why they're busting up, so. Until water goes down, we're probably gonna have more of them fall apart. But, every town around here's got the same issues right now that I've been talking to, so. The only other thing that I was gonna touch on, a couple things, I guess, discharging, we are full and our limits are not where they need to be, so I'm gonna be contacting, state tier, DNR, probably next week, if our ammonia doesn't drop down, and let them know we're gonna be discharging, so I'll be taking care of that here next week. You mentioned a couple things, the old bathrooms in the park, we shut them down last year early, do you wanna leave them shut down? Or do we wanna open them,
Yeah, leave it shut down.
so,
The old ones are those ones by like the
the tennis court,
skate.
yeah.
Harder to burn them down when they're closed.
So, that's completely up to you guys, we're gonna open up the other ones for sure this week, so they'll be ready for this weekend, with the nice weather coming in, but it's up to you guys, you want us to leave them shut for a while and see if we get, I don't think they're gonna get used hardly any besides the vandalism part of it, that's all it's gonna be used for. So, even jamboree days, very few people use them, I mean, we got porta potties up there now, so.
I'd say leave them all shut, but that's just me. I don't have a toddler anymore. I'm just getting old.
So we'll keep it out, then just leave them shut, and then, like I said, I'll be going around with Deputy Ryan, and we'll be looking at street signs over good, and maybe trying to bring some adjustments back to you guys on some stuff. Then, the only other thing is the mag water. Price came in at a penny more than what it was last year. We've got, I know Scott was wondering about the second application, we do have budget for both applications. If Vandemark gets started before we would mag water, then we'll be taking those off, so we'll be way ahead in budget there, so.
Motion to approve what will be a bid for $1.42 a gallon as budgeted.
Second. Discussion?
I would not put any money into it.
I wouldn't either.
The only thing would be is if something would happen with the contract, getting stuff, and we get end up with real dry spring like we did last year, and it starts getting really dusty, we'll just do a quick Band-Aid over by the houses, and that'll be it. I mean, I'm not gonna do it like we normally would or anything like that, so I'll just kind of play it by ear with, but I'm not planning on it, and with Vandemark being shut down, that means Ninth Street won't have any traffic on either, so we'll leave them both alone, so.
Right, I mean, even, yeah, through the golf course would be
Yeah,
closed off,
no,
won't it, because of the
yeah.
obstruction?
So we'll just hit the areas that we really
Well,
need to.
we're only closing it for probably half the duration of the project, so it'll be opened up again at some point.
So it'll be a
Right,
fall.
I wouldn't do
it'll be a-
anything until they close it back.
It'll be a fall application is what it'll be up there, so.
Yeah, cause that project,
We got
extends.
storm sewer.
Storm sewer.
Storm
Yeah.
sewer.
Yep.
Yeah, that's another topic. That's the drainage easement through those private residences,
Oh, same
that
time.
outlet from that pond to the east,
Yeah.
that's a different deal.
To be continued.
Moving on. Alright, we got a motion and second to Maywater. Any other discussion? Vote, Keel,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yep.
and Brown.
Yeah.
And that's all I got unless somebody has something for me.
How's it been feeling? How's it been feeling?
Good, it's super quiet, it's hard on fuel, but that's that tier 4 motor, so. But you can
Say
get,
I haven't got a case guy here.
all the tier 4s are harder on fuel than what the old motors were.
Yeah, oh
Now
man.
you gotta buy DEF too.
Yep,
More DEF.
yep.
More DEF.
Tobacco's got it, no, okay.
Yeah, that's right. DEF in bulk.
Yeah, I'm looking into getting some prices through Canada to
Rip that thing, you
get
know.
a tank.
He did it himself.
We don't have depth in bulk right now.
We've just been buying the 2.5 gallon containers of it. I'm gonna look at into Tammons, she sent me some prices on, thing is, it's, kind of, well, what am I thinking? Highly or not toxic, but corrosive. And, so you gotta kinda watch handling it, where now the
Gotta be
plastic
sealed up
containers.
too,
It's gonna get a shelf life, right?
They say about 3 years, I think, on it, but that depends on the heat and stuff like that, so if we do it, we'll probably do like a 30 gallon drum at a time or something like
How
that.
big is the tank on the payload?
I couldn't tell you, sure,
How big is the tank on the stack?
I couldn't tell you.
Who would I talk to?
Neil and
Down
Neil and Jesse's the ones that usually
Neil and
drive that and
Jesse
fill
would
them up,
know.
so. I talked to those guys, so they'll tell you.
I think you can't be using much DEF. I've got a generator
No.
that's been running 24/7 for 3 weeks. It uses
Yeah,
10
it's
gallons
about
of
every
DEF a week.
second or third fill we gotta have of it, so.
You know, that's $25 a week for DEF.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Alright.
should delete it.
Delete it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Generative.
I'll tell you later.
Well, this is John Deere, I'll go ahead.
Alright, we're gonna move on to the finance officer report. Karen? Anything to add on the side of your report there, Karen?
No, nothing to add. Just the only action item is approval for me to attend the finance officer school in Pier in June 12th, 13th, and 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Can we do without her, Teresa?
We'll try it.
Alright, motion and second for finance school. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sure, hope you have that money
Alright.
found by then.
Any questions on Karen's report? Alright, we'll move over to Teresa's report.
Nothing really add to my report, just wanna point out, we are still looking for some summer help. We do have everybody for park rec now, I had a couple assistants apply, so. And then, but we are still looking for lifeguards, we need probably about 3 more, at minimum. And we're still looking for public works, we did have 2 applications come in from that, on that position, but I don't think Craig's had time to talk with them and look at it, but, you know, we'll still need more people in that department too, so.
Where do we advertise?
So, I mean, just on our website, but you put it in the papers, the shopper, which goes to everybody out there. I mean, she sends it to the schools, all the area schools, you know, and just not West Central. What else do you
The Anderson publication, I put it on the Department of Labor's
Department of Labor, yeah.
work site out there.
We're
It's
using-
probably at our
have we-
website.
Did I see these posted on the city's Facebook page too?
Oh, yes, and we've
Oh,
had, yep,
Facebook,
Jesse
yeah.
said, put it on our Facebook page, yeah, we're still looking.
How much do we feel advertising is worth? I mean, how much money would we be willing to spend to place an ad?
Like, you think like, it depends on where you're gonna place the ad, if the Argus is what you're thinking,
Not the
I mean,
Argus.
it's gonna be
Indeed.
pretty narrow. In
Put
what?
it on Indeed.
Okay, I have tried Indeed for like Jesse's position, of Concord and whatnot. We can try that, but tell you the truth, the applicants I got from that were just kind of random. I mean, not qualified, a lot of them didn't even live around the area, they were in other states and that, so I didn't have much luck doing that. I just don't know how much luck we have for like part-time lifeguards. I mean, I can see for a bigger
I was
position.
thinking for the public works side of it, maybe that would generate some interest, probably not for the lifeguard position, but for the public works, that would get a lot of people's attention.
Maybe if someone's looking for
Just a thought.
just the
We used it,
summertime.
had some really pretty success with
Did ya?
it, so. But it's not cheap, it was $30 a day or something.
Yeah, I can't remember,
Which
yeah,
is- For advertising, it's cheap, but it is
So
what
if
it
you have
is.
any other suggestions of where to throw it out?
Yeah, the lifeguard part of it, I'm just thinking any other routes, any other thing we can do to make sure locally that those are out there. And we're in front of the right people.
I did have a phone call from a gal in Montrose today, which I'm hoping will apply. And then, one gentleman that we had previously, right, that Riley Danielson inquired about it, but he hasn't submitted an application, so hopefully maybe we'll get a
All of the
couple.
costs that those folks incur to become certified lifeguards are at their expense.
No, we reimburse
It's
it.
reimbursed by
Yep,
the city.
if
that's
they
what I
get
was
hired by the
thinking.
city
Okay.
and work the
Yeah.
summer for us,
Yeah,
we
okay.
reimburse the full cost,
That's pretty attractive.
yeah.
One
And,
would think.
I think a lot of it is just the kids are so busy with sports, band, all that stuff, and they just don't have time to, the ones that would be willing to work are too active with social stuff.
Okay. We're gonna have to keep thinking.
So we're continuing to
Yep.
pursue that, so. And then, still haven't received the annual report back, but expect that shortly from our auditors. Ralph Tushin has inquired about renting billboard number 1, so that would be the far one on the west side, the one that's empty, going towards Sioux Falls. So I sent him out a lease, I haven't received it back, but, if he rents that, we'll have everything rented out. There's 2 blank ones there, but those are being rented by Blue 42, and he just doesn't have a vinyl up there. I mean, he's paying his monthly rent every month, it's been almost a year, and he hasn't put anything up. So.
Any word from the DOT on the fact?
Nope, the DOT
they
has
haven't?
contacted me, so, okay,
Wow.
we'll just keep collecting rent.
That's amazing.
Just send them the lease agreement, those are rented.
Yeah, we've got them rented on our
They're
end,
not blank,
so.
there's something on them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're getting revenue off them, so, if we get that lease back from Tushin, I mean, that'll come before the council to approve. And then just planning and zoning, just to let you know, updates of what they're kind of looking at, joint jurisdiction, now that Larry is back from here, he's going to be working with their county attorney to, let us know what steps we need to do to go forward with that. The P&Z board is also gonna be looking at updating the international building codes. 2015 are out, or not 2015, sorry, 2018 codes, we're in the 15s right now. We need to update to the 2018. Sioux Falls has just adopted the 2018, I think Brandon's doing their reading next week to adopt them. So to just stay up with, the county, we'll be looking at that probably later this month too, to get ours updated. And then at the last city council meeting, we had quite some lengthy discussion about incorporating or allowing Z-lots in the city. And basically, Z-lots are just, they're smaller width, they're quite not as big as lots as usual. They're kind of a smaller width lot and with smaller setbacks. And they've been incorporating them into developments in Sioux Falls, and now Brandon has some, Harrisburg. And what's usually built on them are people that are, empty nesters or snowbirds, or people that are looking for, don't want the maintenance, don't want as big a yard, don't want the maintenance of the yard, don't want the snow. Usually they're under, homeowners association. So our regulations right now, because they're smaller width lots, don't allow them, but after that discussion, the P&Z board is looking at proposing a change to that they're gonna be reviewing at their next meeting, having a public hearing, and then we'll have a recommendation to the city council, so just to let you start thinking about that. It's another housing option that we don't right now offer in Hartford, which I see there could be a need for that, so just kind of let you
Should
know.
essentially be a separate development, like somebody comes in and says they wanna do
Well, what brought
a
this
Z-lot area.
Yeah, and what brought this discussion about is Sam Masson's development. He is looking at, he would like to incorporate some of those, in the plans he sent in, so. And, I mean, he'd have regular size lot, I mean, he has very different sizes, but a portion of it, he would wanna be BZ lots, so, yeah. So, that's really all updates I got, unless you have questions for me.
Just one quick question on the Z-lots.
Mhm.
So, at one time lots had to be 66 feet wide, is that
Yep,
right?
and that's what we currently are, that's the minimum
We're at
width.
66 right now,
Mhm.
but it was narrower than that before, wasn't it?
It could have been a few years back. It's been
So-
66 for quite a while.
So,
Since I-
how wide is a proposed Z-lot?
So like Sioux Falls is 50 feet. The ones, is their minimum lot for anything? The ones Sam is proposing, puts in, they're 60, I think, right around there. So,
To answer your question from P and Z, our discussion on it is probably no smaller than 60 feet.
And right now the minimum 66?
Correct.
right. And they also discussed the area you'll need, the 75,000 square feet for lot area, that's gonna stay the same. So even though they're narrower, they still gotta be deeper, yeah, exactly.
But you're talking about changing the setbacks too?
Yes, from,
So
just on the
this-
side,
I
from
mean,
7 to
just-
5.
Just right from the get-go, this sounds like a way for a developer just to cram more houses in on
No.
this property.
Not just for the fact is we're keeping 7,500 square feet as the smallest lot size. Is a lot of your developments 66 feet, they keep the lot depth down, so they can still, they want to.
So they're just gonna be narrower and longer.
They're narrower and longer.
And the shape of them is a different configuration. It's not a rectangular, it's got a jog in it.
They look like a Z.
So that the garage, it gives it a different look when you go down the street.
So that's what I was trying to
Garage
figure
is
out,
being an
assimilation.
angle to the street. And for whatever reason, that's pretty appealing for some of those
Oh,
properties, yeah.
interesting. Alright, enough about that.
Good deal. Any other questions for Teresa?
On the dock planning zone, there's a spot open on there.
Yep.
That's a question for you.
Next on the agenda.
agenda.
Yep. Yep, next on the agenda. So, move on. All right, new business, planning and zoning appointment. Yep, Bob had to step down from planning and zoning, so he's been off for last 2 meetings, I believe, at least. And, then I had several discussions, even over different openings, with, Brad Miles. Lives here in Hartford, obviously, he's up in the Crestwood development area up there. He actually served on planning and zoning in Worthing, when we used to live down there in Worthing area. And has always had a little bit of interest in being on our planning and zoning. And so, works at First Manufacturing right now, he's changed jobs recently, works at First Manufacturing. And he's also a realtor for Dave and Company. So, pretty familiar with a lot of different property types and how these kind of things work and all of that, this time on Worthing planning and zoning, so. I'd like to appoint Brad Miles to fill the remaining term for Bender's position on planning and zoning.
I make a motion to approve Brad Miles.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second.
How much time is left? A little over a year, not quite a year.
I'm gonna say it's.
He's got to the end of the year. Yeah, because theirs go from January, December, so be till the end of this
So
year.
Bob already had 1 year in, a little over one.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, he wasn't
He
appointed this
wasn't
last go
reappointed
around,
this
right?
last time, yep, so he's got
Right.
less than a year.
Yep.
Alright, got a motion and a second, discussion? Now we'll vote. Brennan?
Yeah.
Monahan?
Yep.
Nelson?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
And Keel.
Yes.
Alright. I'll make sure you have all Brad's information so you can get in touch and let him know. So, okay. Alright, next is approval to maintain fire department and our HADC property. That's something that came up when you were doing some looking on some things, Teresa.
Yeah, so, we were kind of having some discussion about insurance or whatnot. Me and Craig, we were talking about liability insurance and different things and workman's comp insurance. One of the things we were talking about was, we were thinking, are our guys covered when we go in and do any kind of maintenance work, such as mowing and snow removal for the fire department? And now we'll probably be mowing some of the HADC property, the south lots and whatnot. Technically, the city don't own those properties, but we have been maintaining them, just for them. So I contact our insurance company, cause I just wanna make sure, I don't want an accident to happen and, we have no coverage on it. Contact our insurance company, and they said as long as the city council directs, the public works employees or directs us to maintain those properties, they would be covered under workman's comp. So just to make it clear, I would like a motion to say, Public Works Department can help maintain the fire department property and any property owned by the HADF. And those are really the only ones we do that aren't under our ownership,
Motion to approve city staff for moving and snow removal for fire department and HADF land to the west, to the east, excuse me.
Question on that, would it include the stuff that's on some sports complexes?
That's-
And we want to-
That's where it got brought up at.
That's what we're kinda talking about, cause that's
Yeah,
technically
that's
the
a lot of area.
HADF's land though.
I don't know if you want to be that specific, Scott.
That's a good point. Say it again. Leave it.
Well, we got all the land we just transferred to them,
Right,
20
right.
acres.
Yeah.
So you specifically called out the land
I
to the
did.
west of the fire department, but
Yeah.
that would not include.
I would
that
just
land.
leave it a blanket.
I would just leave it
open
as
blanket.
HADF's property, because you may
Okay.
transfer other land, the 5 acres, or, who knows
It fits
what.
under the umbrella, okay.
Is that all we do there, Craig?
Yeah. At the fire department, we'll move the snow in front and we'll clean the parking lot quick. And then we mow, the mowing ain't very much because the parking lot takes up the majority within the creek. But then we'll be mowing some of the other land there, so HEDF.
So it would be, better to be, more open and saying to do property maintenance,
I think
not be
that's,
specific to the.
I think that's why I'd have it, probably just general property maintenance.
General property maintenance. Did I get a second?
You did not.
You did not.
Okay.
Motion dies for lack of a second.
There you go.
Okay, so motion to, approve, maintenance of facility or property that includes fire department and HADF. Am I right? Vague enough?
Got it.
I'll second that.
You're thinking my way, I like that.
Motion and second.
Good idea, I appreciate that.
Alright, any other discussion? Alright, no discussion?
Well, it's one point of order, or not a point of order, but just a thought. That has some real value, to mow the lawn, move the snow for the fire department, for the HADF. That's not something, we look at all these numbers, that's not a number that ever gets brought up, but it definitely has value and it saves our fire department some money, so I'll leave it at that. Facts are friendly.
Fair enough, black and white.
Alright, we'll vote. Keel?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yeah.
Brenneman?
Yes.
And Monahan?
Yeah.
Alright. Next is approval of the FDA required transit coordination plan.
So moved.
Have a motion to approve.
Second?
Any second? We do. Any discussion? Alright, we'll vote. Wilson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
and Monahan.
Yes.
Next up, drainage.
Oh, hang on, we gotta approve some money for that, Teresa?
It's in budget, so approving it,
Approving the contract approves the money?
right.
Okay. Good enough.
Drainage on the South Main addition.
We just get Colton to transfer land to the HADF, and then the city will take care of it.
Second.
Problem solved.
Two words.
Paul was talking about this ed equalization, so I just asked Teresa to put it on the agenda. I looked at it, and I asked Miss if he was in town to look at it, and Craig looked at it, and it looked to me, and I didn't, when I talked to Mitch, I didn't say, hey, go out there with your transit, I just, you know, he was out here, I think for that bid,
Real big, yeah.
so I'm sure he just drove by and looked at it, but, and I'm sure he didn't charge us. 'cause-
Over large too, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Paula had water in her basement last year, and she had water in her basement again this year. And of course, a lot of people did, but when I looked at it, it just didn't look like that water was going north to the beehive. So, my only question is, well, number one, is the water, because it's standard reason that if the surface water isn't making it to the drain, then your water table doesn't stand a chance of going down, but I'm not an engineer. But, that was my only concern. At the very least, I think the city needs to make sure the water gets to the drain. So, and whether Craig can do that with Taylor that uses DEF, or whether that's Larry's deal, or whatever, so. That's all I'd like to see happen, is just to verify that water will get to the drain, because when I look at it, it looked like you could put your John boat out there and wait for the ducks, but
Did you get a chance to look at it today, Mark?
I did.
Okay.
It looked like somebody cut a channel.
We did
through
that
the
last fall.
snowbank-
We
Yeah.
did that.
Through the snowbank and got, stuff was moving when I drove by that.
See, that was the biggest problem with this snow event and that rain, is that the snow was damming everything up, so anything that has, slow drainage was backing up, I mean, everywhere. But last fall, we did go through there and cut that, cause there was a swale back in there, I was ponding it for, back in there. So we did cut a trench in there last fall, we got permission from Coulterman to go in there and just open that channel up more. Until these lots get developed and somebody actually goes in there and shapes them the way they're supposed to be, I mean, it's gonna be, we got it so it works, I mean, we had some good rains last fall and it handled and stuff like that, but it's just the spring it didn't handle it, I mean, it just.
So what's the remedy in years to come if those lots don't get developed? What's the remedy just to make sure that beehive is not snowed in, or what?
I mean, the only way you could do that is if you went back in them yards with a snow blower and blew a path through them all. You know, cause even if that lot does get developed and we have an issue like we had this spring, it's still gonna dam
Still
up.
gonna bury that.
And the times before when she was talking about water back in there with that, I went back and looked in her yard, and it was only about 3 foot inside the fence, and it still had about 1.5 to 2 foot to climb before it even get up to her level by the house.
Does she have a walkout basement, or is it a?
No, I think it's kind of a split floor.
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know if the water was from a sump pump issue or something like that, maybe not keeping up, or if there's water coming in some other, like through a crack in the foundation wall or something like that, I mean, I see it kinda hard to get that high that it would actually run in her basement windows, but it could have, but, cause we had other places like that, golf course had issues up there because of the, out there, the
Sounds very
11 or
familiar
whatever it is,
to
12.
when Peterson had issues.
But I mean, you know, we can definitely,
Water wasn't getting there, but it was something else.
you know, we'll make sure that beehive's always, you know, open and, you know, taking water like it should, but as far as going back, I mean, you only got 5 foot, and snow blower or shovel would be the only way you can keep them open. And you're trying to keep roads open that ain't, so you don't wash a road out, you know, versus the homeowners. They need to have some responsibility of keeping the water away from their house too, I mean, instead of relying on the city.
No, I hear you, I hear you.
I think we should just keep an eye on it, cause when we went out there, it was still full of snow and it was hard to tell exactly what the problem might be, but it looked to me there could still be a chance that there's a low spot back there. And, if we get a big rain and you see water continuing to sit back there, that might tell me that maybe they need to relocate that beehive a little further back there. And we would talk to probably Larry about doing that.
All right,
That's good.
enough said.
Teresa, can you put on the agenda for our next meeting to, I guess in regards to discussion regarding a drainage easement for property owners along the north side of North Sichuan? Specifically from like Matthias's to the east.
Do you want us to come up with some ideas?
So, I guess, I've talked to more than one individual along there, they've talked to me, and that is silted in over time, and that drainage.
It's bad.
Well, my concern is if we start pushing a bunch more water into that pond, it's gonna make the problem that they're experiencing currently worse. So if we be proactive about it, try and talk to those folks, secure a drainage easement, which would allow the city to go in there, remove that silt and maintain that, similar to what we have in Crestwood.
Yeah.
It might save us some headaches.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and I think too, if you wanted to consider even trying to add a little bit of work down there to Silcup's contract. I mean, they'd have that type of equipment out there with this job, so.
Right, okay.
If they can get in there.
Yeah, I haven't been back in there.
Yeah, they got sprinkler heads out the cattails now.
Yeah, I think the only access point is gonna be off that, lift station that goes back in there,
Yeah, right, yeah.
and
Yeah.
we ain't gonna get a track hole or anything like that in there.
Not in the near future.
Yeah, it's a mess, it
Yeah.
really is, I mean, I don't know how they'd even get in there, you know?
That'd be something maybe that we look at next winter when it's froze up.
Yeah, and even then, yeah, we had some other ones we wanted to get this last winter, and by the time it finally started to freeze where you might have been able to get something in there, then you had 3 foot of snow in there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So-
we looked at that at Christmas, actually, we
Mhm.
do some.
We had a couple of them that we wanted to get done and just, weather just went, stopped, sort of. So I don't know, it'd be something you'd have to have that can,
Be a drought year.
yeah, that'd be
We could really
perfect.
get in there
I'd like to see 2 years like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'd be on the front end of it at least.
The biggest thing is to get the easements,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
get the right away in there, or not right away, but get an easement in there so we can go in and do work if we need to.
So the directive is enough to satisfy the drainage issue on South Main? I mean, we don't need a motion on that, anything of that sort?
I don't,
Just gonna
you
keep
know,
it
what the issue, we need to just keep an eye on it and
Yeah.
see if it does vote.
You know, and then I'll just chime in here a little bit, you've heard me say this name many times, but Derek Williams across the street had to take, like Craig said, his snow blower and go along the middle of you go one block to the east, that thick blue line there, and he had to make a jigsaw puzzle in his backyard, so it would drain. Now, that was the developer's fault 16 years ago, okay? And so, I would just like to say in regards to the rest of this remaining Coulterman land, let's be proactive on it, because Darren's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place as far as that fund goes.
I don't, in our development, we had some people go through the backyard with a snow blower to make sure it drained when it was, with the snow melting as fast as it was.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a developer issue. I think that's just a drainage, if we're gonna get that water out of there, the homeowner's gotta do something.
Well, but this has historically been an issue there for, ever since before I even became elected, because I remember having an hour and a half conversation with him in 2012 about it. And it really, and we've talked about it on multiple occasions, there's really nothing that, as a city, that we can do, and stop this from happening, but Darren's always gonna have that problem, or we're going that lot. And I just looked one block to the west, and it's the same type of scenario, so I just wanted to throw that out there, that
in that neighborhood, one block to the west, it's, to the east, it's an issue and it'll happen over here too.
Me and Mitch had this conversation with these other lots here
You did.
a couple months ago, or whatever, that we're
Keep
gonna
a
keep an
sharp
eye.
eye.
When they build the houses, make sure the elevation, cause that's the biggest problem with these other two, their houses are too low.
Yeah.
They should have been
Yeah.
up another 6 inches to a foot higher, and it would have eliminated their.
So,
And
so
that
let's,
goes back to an ordinance issue, or we don't have an ordinance in
That's-
place. We don't approve elevations on single-family houses. We have
Seriously.
drainage plans, right? We have drainage plans, but they're only as good as the paper they're written on,
Yeah,
usually.
we'll just take them.
Both those houses are too
I didn't
low.
realize that. So the ordinance reads that we do not approve,
There is no ordinance, it doesn't read, there is not an ordinance.
that's scary.
Well, that's where you put a lot of trust in a developer, and a
Well,
builder.
Your builder, your contractor, you
builders,
put a
the
lot of trust in.
Yeah,
Contract.
and that's what I said earlier, you know, and so, okay, well, keep it on Larry then.
Well, if you're trying to take a ranch lot and make it a garden view, you're gonna have a problem,
Yeah,
and that's what happens.
yeah. All right,
Alright, we're gonna move on. Okay, nothing under correspondence? Anything anybody wants to add? Otherwise, we need a motion to move into executive session. We have things for personnel and for legal.
So move.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed?
See ya. I'll make a motion to give Rhonda Kupta a 25-cent an hour merit raise based on her recent training on the new water billing system.
Motion. We have a second.
Do you-
Second,
Do you want it effective next pay period?
Sure.
Effective next pay period. A second from Nelson. Okay, discussion. Alright, we'll vote. Nelson?
me?
Yes.
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Harmon?
Yeah.
And Monahan?
Me?
Yes.
Yep.
Alright, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed?
Is, was there like